Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're exploring a really intriguing idea, having a kind of life compass for a pivotal stage of life.
Right.
We're talking about the years between 45 and 60. People often call it the prime, but it's actually, well, it's more complex than that. It's this intersection of peak capabilities, but also, the very start of some natural decline.
Exactly.
And we're digging into a framework called the Midlife Compass, an AI-driven framework for human development from 45 to 60 and beyond.
Yeah, and what's so fascinating here, I think, is that this deep dive isn't just about understanding midlife itself. It's really about exploring a conceptual blueprint for an artificial intelligence system, one designed to act almost like a co-pilot through this really significant life stage.
A co-pilot, interesting.
We'll be looking at empirical data, trying to build a holistic profile of midlife, and then, crucially, diving into how an AI could potentially offer meaningful guidance across, well, pretty much all life domains. And if you connect this to the bigger picture, it suggests some pretty profound implications, not just for individuals like you listening, but maybe for society, even how we understand human purpose.
So our mission today is basically to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge, the key insights from this framework.
Right.
We want to give you a shortcut, really, to being well-informed about the unique challenges, yes, but also the surprising opportunities of midlife and how technology, specifically AI, might kind of unexpectedly be a catalyst for a more flourishing life, both personally and maybe even culturally.
That is the goal.
Okay, let's start by grounding ourselves. What actually happens during these years, 45 to 60?
Yeah, let's get concrete.
Physically, the source talks about aging becoming more, well, palpable. You see visible signs, graying hair, skin changes.
Sure, the classics.
And there's an increased risk for certain health issues, heart problems, cancer, hypertension, diabetes. Pretty common concerns.
Unfortunately, yes.
And for women specifically, menopause typically happens between 45 and 55, which also brings changes, like impacting bone density.
That's a significant biological marker in this period.
But here's where it gets, I think, really interesting. The cognitive side.
Ah, yes, the brain.
Our source describes this like duality. On one hand, you have fluid intelligence.
That quick thinking.
Exactly. Processing speed, solving new problems, juggling tasks. That starts a pretty clear linear decline from 45 through to 65.
So slower reaction times, maybe finding mental math a bit harder, or, yeah, grappling with totally new tech.
Right, but then there's crystallized intelligence.
Your wisdom factor.
Basically, yeah, your accumulated knowledge, your skills, your experience, all that stuff, and that is exceptionally well maintained. It can even improve until around age 60.
It's the paradox of aging, isn't it?
Totally.
It really is. And this creates a fascinating dynamic. Middle-aged adults can actually outperform younger folks on tasks that really draw on that wisdom. Well, they can substitute deep knowledge, that crystallized intelligence, for raw processing speed. Now, the brain does undergo some gradual shrinkage, particularly areas like the frontal lobe, the hippocampus, affecting higher order functions.
Okay.
So the big question becomes, how do we strategically compensate?
Right.
And this framework suggests something really interesting. An AI support system shouldn't be trying to, patch memory holes. Instead, it should act as an externalized fluid intelligence processor.
Externalize, so offloading tasks.
Exactly. Offloading the rapid data analysis, the heavy multitasking, freeing you up to focus on the high-level, wisdom-based judgment.
Wow, that's a powerful way to reframe aging, actually.
It reframes the whole process, yeah.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. What about the psychosocial side, meaning relationships?
Super important to midlife.
The source dives into Erik Erikson's idea, his core conflict from his life. Generativity versus stagnation.
Ooh, Erikson, yes.
And it's not just presented as a crisis. It's framed as this profound reevaluation. You start confronting questions about legacy, contribution, finding deeper meaning.
How am I making a difference?
Exactly. And that could be through raising kids, mentoring, community service, creating something valuable in your work.
Lots of avenues.
And what's really compelling is that longitudinal studies following people over time show that higher generativity in midlife, it links to stronger cognitive function and lower depression rates later on.
So feeling like you're contributing actually benefits your brain and mood down the line. That makes sense.
Yeah. And then there's the whole sandwich generation reality.
Oh, definitely. A major stressor.
Caring for aging parents while potentially still launching your own kids, that's a lot. Overload stressors, the source calls them.
It's a huge balancing act.
But the source also points out the flip side. the empty nest. For many, it's actually liberating.
Right, new freedom.
Freedom to reinvest in relationships, maybe pursue individual interests that were on the back burner.
And this brings us to the whole midlife crisis, Isaiah, doesn't it?
Yeah, the big myth.
Pretty much, according to the data. Our source is clear. It's largely a myth, probably stemming from studies of people already in therapy, not representative samples.
Okay.
Large-scale studies, like the Meadow Survey Midlife in the United States, actually show most people report a strong sense of well-being between 40 and 60.
So not a crisis, but maybe reassessment.
Exactly, a quieter reassessment. But what's fascinating here is the cultural variation.
How so?
Well, later-born groups in the U.S. and Australia actually show worsening mental health in midlife compared to previous generations.
Really? Why?
It seems linked to societal factors, weaker social safety nets, greater financial vulnerability, whereas in places like Germany, South Korea, Mexico, they're seeing improvements in midlife well-being.
Wow.
It just underscores how crucial it is for any AI guidance system to be incredibly culturally sensitive. It's not a one-size-fits-all experience.
Absolutely. Okay, let's talk money and career.
The practicality.
Socioeconomically, midlife often means peak earning years, right?
Typically, yes.
So this 45-60 window is just critical for retirement planning, getting that clear financial picture, tackling high-interest debt, estate planning.
And using those tax-advantaged savings vehicles like HSA's health savings accounts, really important for future healthcare costs.
Definitely. And professionally, while many are at their peak, it's also a really common time for big career shifts.
Change is common.
And with the pace of tech change, automation, lifelong learning, reskilling, they're not just nice-to-haves anymore. They feel essential.
Totally essential. National surveys actually back this up. Many folks over 50 feel they lack the skills needed for new kinds of jobs.
Which is why we're seeing this push, this reskilling revolution from companies and governments.
Yeah, trying to bridge that gap. And we connect this back to the bigger picture of midlife.
Go on.
You see this fundamental tension, right? There's an urgent need to consolidate financially for retirement.
Get your ducks in a row.
Exactly. But also this pressing need, often, for personal and professional reinvention. Maybe investing time and money in reskilling or starting a business.
Which compete for the same limited resources, time and money.
Precisely. So a truly useful AI, as this framework highlights, can't look at these things in isolation.
It needs to see the whole picture.
It has to help you navigate that resource allocation dilemma. Maybe by simulating long-term scenarios.
Like showing the potential return on investment of a master's degree versus just investing that cash.
Exactly. Helping you balance that need for financial security against the risk of professional stagnation. It's a tough balancing act.
Okay, so that's the complex terrain of midlife. How does an AI actually step in to help navigate it?
Right, the AI Life Advisor.
And the source emphasizes it's not just a bunch of separate apps, it's envisioned as a unified system.
Holistic, yeah.
And the guiding philosophy seems crucial here. It's designed to enhance human agency, foster human connection, not replace you.
That's key. It's augmentation, not replacement.
Build on a human-in-the-loop idea. So it helps professionals, doctors, financial advisors, freeing them up for the empathetic stuff.
Precisely. Let the AI handle the data crunching. Let the human handle the nuanced interaction. And critically, it upholds your autonomy.
Meaning?
Its role is to present options, model the likely consequences, explain why it's suggesting something. But the final call, always yours.
The decision remains human.
Always. And what's fascinating is how it proposes to build trust.
How?
Through radical transparency, explaining how it works, what its limits are. You have to give explicit consent, obviously.
Makes sense.
But beyond that, it aims for what they call simulated empathy, using natural language processing to pick up on emotional cues, respond supportively.
So the interaction feels more engaging, less robotic.
Exactly, not just transactional. This transforms the AI from some kind of prescriptive oracle.
Telling you what to do.
Right, into more of a Socratic partner, helping you know thyself, as Socrates would say, by providing clarity, illuminating the potential consequences of different paths.
Okay, so how does it technically do all that? This holistic, hyper-personalized guidance must need some serious tech architecture.
It does. The framework breaks it down into 4 interconnected layers.
Layer 1.
Data ingestion. Think of it as the AI's senses, its sensorium. It collects comprehensive data wearables, medical devices, behavioral logs, financial transactions, even environmental data, plus your own stated goals.
Wow, okay. Comprehensive is right. Layer 2.
The AML core, that's the engine. Machine learning models predict outcomes, a hybrid recommendation engine suggests personalized options, and generative AI creates those what-if scenarios we talked about.
The scenario simulator. Got it. Layer 3.
Decision logic and ethics. This is the governor. It filters recommendations through rules, ethical constraints like do no harm, and, very importantly, your own stated values.
So it aligns with what you care about.
It has to. And finally, layer 4, the user interface and interaction. That's the compass, what you actually see and use.
Dashboards, the AI coach.
Personalized dashboards, a conversational AI coach, those just-in-time adaptive interventions, proactive nudges based on real-time data, and that powerful scenario simulator.
It sounds incredibly integrated.
That's the idea. This multi-layered approach allows for truly integrated recommendations. For health, maybe personalized diet and fitness plans based on your wearables, glucose monitors, maybe even genetics.
Tied into mental health support, too.
Exactly, linking to tools for midlife stressors. For finance and career, it acts as that co-pilot dynamic budgets, retirement scenarios, and analyzing your skills against the job market to suggest specific reskilling programs.
Okay. And relationships, purpose.
It could analyze journal entries, perhaps, to suggest generative activities, or even offer alter ego simulations.
Simulations? For what?
To practice difficult conversations, maybe with a family member or a boss. Safe space to try things out.
Huh. Interesting.
But we connect this back to the truly unique function. It's simulating life's trade-offs.
That's scenario modeling again.
Yes. Imagine asking it. Model 3 scenarios for the next 10 years. 1. Stay in my current high-stress, high-income job. 2. Take a 20% pay cut for less stress, retrain for a year. 3. Start my own business, 60% chance of failure.
Okay.
The AI would generate comparative projections. Likely impact on net worth at 65, healthy life expectancy, depression risk, even align it with a goal like more family time.
That's beyond just recommendations. That's like a glimpse into possible futures.
It moves the AI from a simple recommender to a powerful simulator. It's like the technological embodiment of wisdom designed to help you cultivate your own.
Okay, moving beyond the individual user. This is where it gets really interesting, thinking about the collective impact.
The societal ripple effects.
The framework explores some deep patterns, like us versus them psychology, social identity theory, how we get self-esteem from our groups, leading to in-group favoritism, out-group hostility.
Especially when competing for resources, which ties into realistic conflict theory.
Right. And it also looks at the sociology of rule breaking. Why do people deviate?
Strain theory, for example.
Suggesting deviance happens when accepted goals, like financial success, are blocked by legitimate means. So people innovate maybe using deviant or criminal means.
Or social disorganization theory linking crime to weak social ties. Or conflict theory seeing laws as tools of the powerful.
So what does all that mean for an AI designed to help you achieve your goals?
Well, this raises a really important question, doesn't it? A naive AI, programmed only to optimize your personal goals,
might suggest things that aren't great for society.
It could inadvertently recommend socially problematic behaviors, especially if legitimate paths seem blocked for you. The framework warns this could actually destabilize social norms.
Yikes. Okay.
So the AI's ethical governor can't just be a simple universal rulebook. It must be sociologically informed.
Yeah.
Constrained by pro-social ethical rules that always prioritize legitimate means. It needs to use strengths-based, non-labeling language, avoid reinforcing stigma, introduce diverse perspectives to fight filter bubbles, and be equity-aware, recognize and account for systemic barriers, not just blindly reproduce biases from historical data.
That's a tall order. And thinking globally, developing an AI that works everywhere faces that massive challenge, cultural bias.
Huge challenge. Universal models trained on dominant cultures. The source calls it algorithmic colonialism.
Algorithmic colonialism. Wow. So an AI health coach based on Western individualistic data would be useless or even harmful for someone from a collectivist culture.
Deeply flawed, yes. Recommendations about diet, family involvement in care, these are deeply cultural. And cultural values shape how people perceive, trust, and even question AI if it feels biased.
So how do you build a culturally adaptive AI?
What's fascinating here is the proposed framework. It goes beyond just translation. It talks about deep structure adaptation.
Deep structure.
Meaning iterative development with diverse local stakeholders, contextualizing recommendations with local economic realities, even designing the AI to learn cultural norms dynamically.
Learn norms.
Using techniques like inverse reinforcement learning. Basically, the AI observes behavior in a virtual setting, like a community simulation, and infers the underlying values from those actions. It would even need to adjust its interaction style. Some cultures might prefer a more subordinate AI, others are fine with a more proactive agent.
That touches on geopolitics too, right? AI development is so concentrated.
It's a major geopolitical challenge. The proposed solution is this two-level ethical architecture.
2 levels.
Universal, non-negotiable principles at the global level, human rights, fairness, transparency, maybe based on UNESCO guidelines. That's the floor.
Okay, a baseline.
But then local autonomy to fine-tune the AI's value system, align it with local culture. It's an attempt to respect cultural sovereignty while upholding universal human rights.
Okay, so scaling this up, how could this kind of AI impact governance? Help elect good leaders, foster a proper human culture, as the source puts it.
Well, the argument is that a well-designed, widely adopted AI life advisor could act as a powerful real-time diagnostic tool for society.
How? Through aggregated data.
Exactly. Aggregating and anonymizing data from millions of users could give policymakers an unprecedented view of societal well-being. Identifying hotspots of strain, like financial anxiety, in a specific area, allowing for targeted interventions, iterative policy improvements.
So better data for better policy.
Beyond diagnostics, though, a culturally aware AI could foster a healthier public sphere.
In what way?
Summarizing complex policy debates from multiple viewpoints. Facilitating empathy, maybe letting you experience an issue from another social group's perspective virtually.
Wow.
Promoting media literacy, helping identify misinformation and bias. Now, it shouldn't choose leaders for us.
Definitely not.
But by potentially reducing societal stress and anxiety, it equips you, the voter, to evaluate candidates based on substance, not just fear and division. The idea is it helps create better voters.
Who are then more likely to elect better leaders. Interesting, Luke.
Exactly.
But this immense power, it absolutely demands a robust ethical framework, right?
Wow.
Built in from the start.
Absolutely critical. Integrated into every stage of the AI's life cycle.
Beyond the basics, human rights, fairness, transparency, privacy, the source highlights a deeper risk, what it calls the benevolent erosion of human agency.
Explain that.
As the AI gets better, more persuasive, learning our patterns maybe better than we know ourselves, there's a danger we just gradually hand over our judgment.
We become too reliant, too passive. Yes, that's a real concern.
So how does the ethical framework address that, preventing us from becoming passive dependents?
What's fascinating is how it proposes to actively counter this. It's not just about avoiding harm, but actively preserving agency.
Okay.
One idea is a principle of intentional friction.
Intentional friction, making it harder to use.
Sort of. Programming the AI to periodically introduce unexpected or non-optimized choices, things that make you pause, step back, and consciously re-engage your own thinking.
Forces you to think critically.
Or a serendipity injection. Intentionally presenting novel ideas, things outside your usual preference bubble, to encourage exploration and prevent you getting stuck in a rut.
That's clever. So the tech itself tries to cultivate independent thought.
It raises that important question. How can technology not just prevent harm, but actively cultivate our capacity for independent thought, for moral reasoning?
This leads to maybe the biggest challenge of all. In an age where AI will surpass us in productivity, logical reasoning, what happens to our traditional measures of human worth?
Right. So much of our value system is tied to productivity.
Our societal obsession with it has devalued so many unquantifiable qualities: creativity, empathy, wisdom. The AI revolution makes that old paradigm feel, well, untenable.
Completely untenable. And if we connect this to the biggest picture, the future of human work and purpose, according to this framework,
Where does it lie?
in uniquely human domains, AI becomes this incredible tool of liberation.
Liberation.
By automating the routine, the drudgery, it frees up vast amounts of human time, human cognitive resources.
Allowing us to focus on more meaningful things.
Exactly. More meaningful, creative, relational endeavors. The qualities defining human value shift towards creativity, critical thinking, emotional intelligence, empathy, moral courage.
A different way of valuing ourselves and each other.
The source even suggests the love ethic could become a central organizing principle, which means the AI life advisor, long-term, needs to evolve.
From what to what?
From a life coach managing logistics to a philosophy coach,
A philosophy coach.
guiding you in developing empathy, creativity, ethical reasoning, cultivating the flourishing of the soul, for lack of a better word.
Wow, that's a profound shift. And ultimately, this whole framework seems to suggest that an AI-driven future, if done right, is actually a more sustainable future.
That's the implication.
A human-centered approach to tech, prioritizing well-being, dignity, that naturally aligns with environmental ethics.
Well, an individual finding purpose, not in endless consumption, but in generativity, connection, creativity.
Yeah.
They're less likely to engage in that zero-sum competition, that mindless resource depletion that drives so much conflict and ecological harm.
So, focusing inward on human flourishing actually helps the planet.
Indeed. This vision is really one of symbiosis,
Symbiosis between humans and AI.
where technology is consciously designed from the very beginning to enhance our most noble human qualities. AI isn't the master, it isn't the servant, it's a partner.
A partner in leading richer, more fulfilling lives.
Exactly. In this symbiotic relationship, both human intelligence and artificial intelligence can thrive, each augmenting the other, all in service of a more vibrant, meaningful, flourishing world.
Where a proper human culture.
Nurtures its people, respects its diverse traditions, and acts as a responsible steward of its only home, the Earth. That's the ultimate vision.
So, reflecting on all this, what does it mean for you, listening? We started very specifically looking at the complexities of midlife, ages 45 to 60. Then we moved to the really ingenious architecture of this conceptual AI designed to support that stage.
The co-pilot idea.
And then we zoomed way out, exploring how such a system could profoundly shape society, governance, even redefine what it means to be human and what constitutes a good life.
It's a huge arc.
It's a profound journey, really, stretching from your personal health data, your daily choices, all the way to the future of our planet.
Which leaves us, I think, with a really important question for you, the listener, to maybe ponder.
Okay, what's the final thought?
If, and it's a big if, but if an AI could effectively manage life's logistical complexities, those difficult trade-offs, really freeing up your uniquely human capacities for creativity, for empathy, for finding meaning, what would you then choose to cultivate? What would you explore or contribute? And how might that reshape your own definition of a truly flourishing existence?
Powerful stuff to chew on indeed. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
This is DigitView.